Part 36. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 351. Chapter 351. In his arms. Xianxia rolled her eyes at him and understood what he meant. When the two of them are together, their spiritual pets will inevitably be together often. Now that they are hugging together like this, they don't have to worry about their spiritual pets not getting along. Xuanhuan smiled even brighter after receiving a roll of his eyes. Xianxia was speechless. She didn't know what made this man happy. She didn't say anything to him and continued to study her own elixir. After refining the baby birth pill into the baby broken pill last time, she was only a little bit away from being a god-level alchemist, but this was not so easy to expose. Xuanhuan continued to meditate. The next morning, Xuanhuan took advantage of the time when the city gate opened to ask Xianxia to leave the space. After leaving the space, Xianxia looked at Xuanhuan and said, "How can I put the space on you? Xuanhuan doesn't have as many vines as Jishan. All she needs to do is fall on the vines that cover the sky. Xuanhuan doesn't have any place for her to stay." As soon as she finished speaking, Xuanhuan bent down and picked her up. For a moment, the girl in his arms seemed to fill his heart. In addition to being hugged by her grandmother in another life when she was a child, Xianxia was also hugged by her parents here. This is the first time she has been hugged by someone since she was 10 years old, and she was still an adult man. She could feel Xuanhuan's strong arms very clearly, and even felt the heat on his hands was a bit scalding. Xianxia was stunned for a moment. This is the first time she has been so close to Xuanhuan, with their bodies close to each other and their faces facing each other. She can even clearly feel Xuanhuan's heartbeat and breathing. Xuanhuan smiled when he saw her stunned look, and said in an extremely gentle tone, "Luo can just go in like this." Xuanhuan's breath hit his face when he spoke, and his unique and refreshing breath filled his nose. Xianxia suddenly came back to her senses. Her face was as red as fat, and she entered the space as if she was running away. Because she was being held by Xuanhuan, Xianxia, who was still shy when she entered the space, almost sat down on the ground. Fortunately, she reacted quickly and flipped over in the air, landing on the ground and standing firm. His face became redder and hotter. He patted his heated cheeks hard with his slender white hands. He was a little annoyed at why he was so untempered. Isn't he just good looking? Suddenly, she thought, if she came into the space like this, would she also be in his arms when she went out? When she thought about falling into his arms when she went out, Xianxia suddenly felt a little hot all over. Xuanhuan looked at the empty arms, as if his heart had become empty along with it, and the heart that had just been filled also instantly became empty. He sighed, feeling a little regretful that he could not see Luo's appearance in the space at this time. I wonder if his little girl is as excited and happy as he is. But it was the first time he held his dear girl in his arms. Although the time was short, Xuanhuan was in a very good mood and walked briskly out of the alley. It took a while for Xianxia to return to normal. A soft light flashed across her almond-shaped eyes. It turned out that this was how it felt to be held by the man she liked. Not only did she not hate it, but she also liked it. Now she finally understood why men and women who were passionately in love were so inseparable that they didn't want to separate for a moment. After calming herself down, she looked outside. Xuanhuan had already walked to the main street. Although she was in space, she felt like she was walking on the street and could see her surroundings clearly. If she hadn't been in a hurry to refine the god-level elixir, she would have really wanted to take a tour of Musui City. Withdrawing his gaze, he took out the medicinal materials and prepared to try to refine it again. At this moment, she heard a loud noise coming from outside. She turned around and looked out, and saw a group of guards in uniforms walking on both sides of the street and chasing pedestrians on both sides of the street. At this time, Xuanhuan had automatically stood at the door of a shop, facing the street, so Yan Xianglego could clearly see what was going on the street. As the guards walked on both sides of the street, the middle of the street became vacant, and an extremely luxurious carriage pulled by 6 snow-white horses came. The reason why I describe it as extremely luxurious is because this carriage is the most gorgeous that Yan Xianglego has ever seen. Even if she is not an armor refiner, she can tell that this carriage was made by an armor refiner. The material used is not wood, but a tool-making material made of white jade. The 6 horses are all white, without a single hair on them, and the body of the horse is also white, spotless. It would be fine if it were just like this, but the car cover is colorful, and the turning point of the body frame is edged with gold, and there is a ring of bells made of white crystal stone hanging under the eaves. Therefore, the whole carriage looks extremely luxurious. The sound of horse hooves and the ringing of bells made this trip quite impressive. Although Yan Xianglego couldn't appreciate this man's vision, he had to admit that this battle was indeed arrogant. This is Musui City. Anyone who dares to be so showy in the city must be from the Lu Mansion. I don't know who from the Lu Mansion. It's not the lustful Lu Yu, is it? Just when she was curious, the 2 people standing next to Jiju's Hong whispered, "Young Master Yu is always so arrogant when traveling." Another person quickly stopped him, "Don't talk nonsense. You won't be heard if your voice is too low. Be careful of moving your head." "I'm just envious," the man defended. But his voice became lower, and he didn't dare to speak as the carriage got closer. "Young Master Yu." Ruan Xianglego narrowed her eyes, was it really Lu Yu? At this moment, the carriage had already arrived in front of them. By chance, a gust of wind blew up and lifted the curtain of the carriage, and Yu Xianglego saw the person sitting inside. He is a man with outstanding appearance wearing a snow-white brocade robe and a white jade crown. He held his chin with one hand, closed his eyes slightly and fell asleep. Although his eyes were closed, people could feel the pride in him. Yan Xianglego has never met Lu Ju, but apart from the Lord of Musui Continent, the only person who can walk like this in Musui City is Lu Ju. Yan Xianglego sneered at Lu Yu. He looked like a human but didn't do human things. Yan Xianglego hated Lu Ju very much. If it weren't for him, she wouldn't even dare to show her true appearance. At this moment, a guard rushed over, came to the carriage and reported, "Young master, there is a message from the Lord, saying that the young master is asked to stay in the city to handle matters before the Lord comes back." Because the guard happened to be directly opposite Jiju's Hong when he spoke, Yan Xianglego in the space could hear it clearly. "People around you should be able to hear it. It seems that the events caused by the Shinai Mountain treasure and the Quancheng treasure are not over yet, and the Twilight Lord of the continent has not returned yet." After a moment, Lu Ju in the carriage spoke, "Go back home." Yan Xianglego pouted, "No matter how hard you pull, no one can control you." The carriage immediately turned around and walked back. As the carriage left, the street returned to its previous appearance. People around me also dared to speak. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 352. Chapter 352 Hegemony Competition. Seeing Lu Yu turning around and going back halfway, everyone started talking again. "Young Master Yu, what's going on? Why did you go back halfway?" "I heard what the guard said. It seems that the late Lord asked young Master Yu to stay in the city to handle affairs. It seems that the next Lord of the Twilight Continent is none other than young Lord Yu." "That's not necessarily the case." "How to say? Haven't you heard? The continental competition is about to begin. This time, not only young Master Yu will go to the Twilight Continent, but 2 new talents from the Lu family will also go there. If they rank higher than you in this competition, young Master, let alone the next one, even the young master is very likely to be replaced." Yan Xianglego's eyes lit up when she heard about the continental competition. This was a good opportunity to get to know the powerful figures in the continent. I just don't know who is participating in the Continental Hegemony tournament. Can only powerful families in the mainland participate, or can everyone with a sufficient cultivation level participate? She can hear it, and Ji Zhozhong can naturally hear it too. Without her, Ji Zhozhong will also know the news about the continental competition clearly. The streets have returned to normal order. Yan Xiangluo looked away, checked the herbs, and began to make elixirs. Ji Zhozhong continued to wander around the main street, looking for a convenient inn. He was also observing the people coming and going, listening to the conversations of pedestrians, and extracting the information he needed. As he walked, he saw the plaque of ignorance. After squinting his eyes, he walked into ignorance. Someone came up immediately and said, "Master, please come this way." The unknown business in Shusi city is indeed unparalleled in other cities. There are many people who come to buy news. The person who received him took him to a room, first asked him to sit down and poured him tea, and then asked, "What news does the master need?" In order to protect the privacy of the guests, when there are many people, each guest will be in a separate room. The room has an isolation formation. Even a god-level expert cannot detect the scene inside the room and cannot hear the sounds inside. Ji Zhozhong did not drink tea and said directly, "I want the list of contestants for this continental competition. I wonder what the point of buying a list for the continental hegemony is." Even if he also participates, he knows who is participating, and if he wants to get a good ranking, he must win with real ability. Registration for the continental competition has not ended yet, and the current list is incomplete. Ji Zhozhong said, "Just give me the list as of today." I don't know why the guys don't understand. They spend the same money, so why don't they wait a few days to buy the entire list? But what they don't know is the business of buying and selling news, and they never ask customers why they buy news. Now that the list is not complete, the price will not be reduced. I don't know, but I still want to make it clear. If the other party knows the full list, he will buy it at the same price, which will ruin his reputation. Ji Zhozhong nodded slightly, "Okay. Since people are willing to do it, they naturally don't care whether the other party suffers a loss, they just make this money." 10 high-quality spiritual stones. It was only 10 high-grade spiritual stones, which were not expensive. Ji Zhozhong raised his hand and 10 high-grade spiritual stones appeared on the table without any hesitation. The main thing is that this list is not a secret. Everyone can know it when the registration ends and the competition begins. Just because the names of all contestants will appear on the ranking list. Hence, I don't know that the pricing is still very reasonable. The waiter put away the spirit stone and said, "Sir, wait a minute." Ji Zhozhong nodded, picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea. The waiter quickly left the room to get the news. Unexpectedly, the waiter left very quickly. Ji Zhozhong didn't even finish a cup of tea before the waiter came back. He handed him a jade slip and said, "The list is imprinted on the jade slip. Young master can check it now." Ji Zhozhong put away the jade slip directly. There is no need to doubt the credibility of the unknown. After finishing speaking, he stood up and left the room. Even if he were to look at it now, he wouldn't know whether it was true or false. Besides, he was hungry, and he didn't know that those who were in this business would not do anything to ruin their reputation. I don't know that the clerk is very satisfied with his attitude. I don't know that they are buying and selling news, so credibility must be the first priority. Otherwise, how could the business be so big and lasted for so long? Ji Zhozhong left the room and walked to the front door. He was about to leave, but someone outside wanted to come in. Ji Zhozhong's phoenix eyes flashed with an unnoticeable glare, but he lowered his eyes to cover it up and quickly stepped aside to let people from outside come in first. Xianxia glanced at the man who got out of the way. He was dressed in ordinary clothes and had an ordinary appearance. The ordinary one could not be more ordinary. She only glanced at it and then withdrew her gaze. She would not choose such a man even for the sake of cultivation. She didn't know that the man she despised in front of her was the one she wanted. After Qin Suiyu entered, Ji Zhong left without knowing. Qin Suiyu followed Lu Yu, so she must live in the Lu mansion. What kind of news is there in the mansion of the Lord of the Continent? Why does Qin Suiyu use it to buy news? That is what she is doing now that she does not want Lu Yu to know. It seems that Qin Suiyu is not a calm person no matter where she is. Ji Zhong didn't give way to her out of fear, but out of disgust. He was afraid of being tainted with any trace of Qin Suiyu's aura. Coincidentally, the person who received Qin Suiyu was the unknown man who had just received Ji Zhong. In the same room, the waiter changed the teacup and poured tea for Qin Suiyu. "Miss Qin, what news do you need?" Just by hearing the title, you can tell that the guy is very familiar with Qin Suiyu. Not long after arriving in Musui City, I was having a good time. Qin Suiyu drank tea and said in a casual tone, "I want information on all the people with the surname of Zhu and Long among the people who came from the lower continent in the past 6 years. The unknown clerk was stunned and said, "Ms. Qin, I'm going to check if there is such information. They do have a list of people from the lower continents, but he really doesn't know if there are people with the surnames Zhu and Long. He will have to check to find out." Qin Suiyu nodded, "If you have any, just bring it back to me." "Okay, Miss Qin, wait a minute." The unknown clerk got up and left. But I muttered in my heart, people who came to buy news today are so strange. They bought news that they did not expect, and even news that could not be sold at all. I really don't know why they wasted their spiritual stones like this. Qin Suiyu waited for a cup of tea before the waiter came back and handed her a jade slip. "Miss Qin, the information about the people named Yuan and Long is here." Although there were not many people from the lower continent, there were quite a few in the past 6 years. It took him some time to find out. Normally, no one would buy such news. Qin Suiyu took the jade slip, paid the reward, and left. Unknown to the outside, Ji Zhong stood at the corner, watching Qin Suiyu come out, and asked Yan Xianglego to release Wuji. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 353. Chapter 353 News about Parents. Yan Xianglego was refining elixirs. When she heard Ji Zhong's words, she immediately threw Wuji out. Wuji, who was still practicing, was a little confused when he was suddenly moved to another place. Fortunately, Ji Zhong caught it, otherwise he would have fallen to the ground. Although it is a very small bird, and there are no people where Ji Zhong is, no one will notice if it falls, but it cannot be ashamed. But before Wuji could feel aggrieved to Ji Zhong, he was thrown out again. Follow Qin Suiyu and see what news she bought today. Only then did Wuji see Qin Suiyu in front of her, walking with her waist twisted and charming. Wuji immediately hid her figure, but she felt disgusted in her heart. Why was she this annoying woman again? When it was in the lower continent, the person it hated the most was her. She was evil and mischievous. Now that it has come to the higher continent, it still encounters her everywhere. It's really haunting. Wuji resignedly chased after him. Ji Zhong then ran towards an inn he liked and booked a room directly. The upper room of this inn is on the 3rd floor. The inn faces the street. The window of the upper room Ji Zhong chose is on the street side, so you can see the scene on the street from the room. Standing at the window and looking to the left, I don't know. Looking to the right is Dakian auction house. This is also the reason why Ji Zhong chose this inn to stay, so that he could check some things and do some things. About half an hour later, Wuji came back. "Master, what Qin Suiyu bought is the information about all the people with the surname of Zhu and the surname of Long who came from the lower continent in the past 6 years." Wuji told Ji Zhong what he saw. Do you have any information about Luo's parents? Why Xianxia bought the information about people named Yuan and Long? The purpose is too obvious. Xianxia wanted to deal with Yan Luo, but she didn't know if she had bought the information about Luo's parents. They couldn't enter the city these days, and they didn't ask for news. When they came to Muzui City, one of Zhizhong's plans was to ask for news about Yuan Chenjai and his wife. Unexpectedly, Xianxia did it for him. The information she bought did not include the names of the girl's parents. Wuji shook his head. Tell me more about those people. Zhizhong was a little surprised. If there is no news about Yan Luo's parents, there are only three possibilities. The first type is that they are so low-key that they are ignored. The second is that they had an accident as soon as they arrived on the higher continent. But this possibility is almost non-existent. Based on Zhizhong's understanding of Zhu Chenjai, he can still live well with his clever mind even if he loses all his cultivation. Third, they didn't use their real names. Zhizhong thinks the first and third options are more likely, and the second one can be ignored. But no matter which one they are, it would be difficult for Yan Luo to find them, unless. Zhizhong listened to Wuji talking about the information Xianxia bought, and Yan Luo in the space once again refined the Poying Dan. Looking at the dark Poying Dan in the stone nest, Yan Luo held her forehead and sighed. God-level pills are really not that difficult. Just when she was depressed, she suddenly heard Zhizhong reciting a name. Suddenly, she remembered what her father had said to her before. If there were any special circumstances and it was inconvenient to use her real name, the couple would use Xuanhuan as a pseudonym. Yan Luo immediately asked Zhizhong, "What's the matter with the name you mentioned?" Zhizhong heard Yan Luo's voice and blinked. Did Luo ask about all the names or just one? Yan Luo immediately said, "The name is Xuanhuan." Zhizhong explained, "I went to ignorance today and met Xianxia. I asked Wuji to check what she bought and found that she was looking for your parents. I bought back the information about people named Yuan and Long who came from the lower continent in the past 6 years. I was listening to Wuji's information about these people and recorded it." "Show me." Yan Luo immediately came out of the space. In her excitement, she forgot that she was in Zhizhong's arms when she went in, and she was also in his arms when she came out. Zhizhong suddenly had someone in his arms. It was the little girl he was thinking about, and he immediately hugged her tightly. Yan Luo struggled for a while but couldn't break free. "Anyway, we have to go in later, so let's watch it together." Zhizhong said the information he had recorded on the table with his mouth. Yan Luo was immediately attracted by the information on the table and read it directly. Within 6 years, there were not many people with the surname of Yu who came to the high continent from the lower continent. There were 6 people, and there were even fewer people with the surname of Long, only 3. But there was a lot of information. Each person recorded 2 pages. With the surname of Yun, and Yun Kiun wasn't included. But when she saw Yunfusion, she was still very excited and her heart beat a lot faster. Although there is not much information recorded about Yunfusion, the shadow of her father can also be seen. The 3 people with the surname Long are not her mother's surname, Long, but Long. All 3 are women, and one of them is called Long Yimen. Although Yunfusion and Long Yimen are not named, their names are definitely not such a coincidence. There is only one possibility. In order to avoid trouble and danger, their parents changed their surnames to have the same pronunciation but different characters, and their names also changed to a dream promised to her. She was certain that these 2 people were her parents. I carefully read the information about the 2 people and found that there is too little information about the 2 people. Moreover, judging from the information, there is no relationship between the 2 people at all. Zhizhong kept staring at her expression, which changed from excitement to joy to calmness. Although the process was short, he was sure that there must be information about Yan Luo's parents. Yan Xiongluo took out the information about Yunfuxian and Long Yimen. They should be my parents. Ji Kong raised his eyebrows. Sure enough, it seemed that his previous guess was correct. How could Qianjai, a person who was smarter than a fox, let his daughter come to the higher continent and not find them? When he thought of 3 possibilities before, he thought that the third one was most likely to be anonymous, but how could Luo find them after changing their names? There must be an agreement between them that only they knew. Are you sure? Ji Hong asked. Yan Xiongluo nodded and said, I'm sure. My father told me that if there are any special circumstances where it is inconvenient to use the real name, they will use Fu Shen Yimen as a pseudonym. Ji Hong understood. No wonder she was so sure. As long as the name was what they agreed on, it wouldn't be surprising if the last name was not the same character. Fen Miao looked at the information from the 2 people and said, if they are really them, they should be in the mainland, but it will take some effort to find them. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 354. Chapter 354, Attacking in the East and Attacking in the West. Ji Hong had a headache. Having an overly smart father-in-law really tested his IQ. Yan Xiongluo smiled and said, it's hard to find them, so let them come to me. Ji Hong narrowed his eyes, looked at the man in his arms and said, do you want to participate in the continental competition? Yan Xiongluo shook her head, we don't know the rules of the continental hegemony competition or the cultivation strength requirements of the contestants. It's not sure whether we can make it in time to participate in the competition. If you want to be famous, you don't have to participate. What I'm best at is what is it? Medical skills, Ji Hong blurted out without even thinking. Yes, even if I can participate in the competition, it is impossible to get a ranking in the continental competition with my current cultivation level, but it will be much easier with medical skills. Yu Xiongluo's eyes were shining brightly, although her face is not what she originally looked like, but the look in her eyes cannot be changed. Ji Hong did not agree with her idea. Don't be in a hurry, think about it carefully and then decide what to do. In fact, he felt that it would be better to let Yan Xiongluo expose her medical skills than to participate in the continental competition. As long as she participated, her name would be on the list of the competition. As long as Yan Qianjai and his wife paid attention, they would be able to discover their daughter. However, to participate in the competition, you must participate in the competition. He does not yet understand the rules of the competition and the cultivation strength of the participants. Although he has got the list of participants, he has not read it yet. Therefore, he is not in a hurry. Make a decision. Yan Xiongluo nodded, anyway, we have to go to the inner continent to find them, so let's get the Earth-type 5-element beads first. Thinking of the 5-element pearls of the Earth system, Yuan Xiongluo asked, didn't young Master Daqian say at that time that he would wait for the destined person in the southern continent? Why do we have to exchange the 5-element pearls in the Musui continent? In fact, she thought she could go to the inner continent first, and then she could refine the god-level birth elixir and then go to the southern continent to go to the Daqian auction house to exchange for the earth element 5-element beads. However, Ji Hong insisted on exchanging them in the Musui continent, and she never figured out why. Ji Hong looked at the person in his arms and explained, have you ever thought about why Daqian auction house, which is located all over the continent, chose the remote Ziyun city to auction the 5-element beads in the Musui continent? Yan Xiongluo was stunned and shook her head, I never thought about it. Is there anything else in it? Ji Hong was born in the royal family. He has been exposed to high-level families since he was a child, so he has a good understanding of the thoughts, practices, and styles of such families. For a family like Daqian auction house, which plays an important role in the mainland, when they do such an important thing, they will ask the celestial master to see the fortune and auspiciousness in advance. This is one of them. Another thing is that they choose Sifang City in the mainland for the auction. Main reason. Ji Zhozhong explained to Yan Xiangluo. Those who need the god-level birth elixir are in the Musui continent, Yu Xiangluo blurted out. She admits that she has little experience in traveling abroad, but when it comes to the internal fighting, tactics, and style of the big family, Yuan Xiangluo is not convinced by anyone. After all, she was not a piece of cake to survive in the family with a weak body, especially after her grandmother passed away and lived until she died beyond treatment. Hence, after Ji Zhozhong's analysis, she immediately understood that Daqian Auction House was attacking in the east and in the west. Daqian Auction House had already made a plan when they put out the 5-element earth beads for auction. Sifang City was just a cover, and they knew very well that they would not get a god-level birth pill at the auction. This was just a ploy on their part. Finally, he said that he would wait for the destined person to exchange it in the southern continent. In fact, it diverted everyone's attention to the southern continent of the inner continent, making them think that the person who needed the birth pill was at the headquarters of Daqian Auction House, which can also be said to be the main house. In fact, the person who needs the baby pill is in Musui continent, and should be at the Daqian Auction House in Musui City. This is also the reason why Ji Zhozhong chose to exchange it in Musui continent. They can get the Earth-type 5-element beads in the shortest time by exchanging them in Musui City. The shorter the time, the safer it is for them. Daqian Auction House is very experienced. After they successfully exchange, they will immediately throw away the burden of the Earth-type 5-element beads and let people shift their targets to the people who get the Earth-type 5-element beads, thus reducing the risk of people taking the birth elixir. After all, the baby birth pill is for healing the nascent soul, and a god-level baby birth pill is needed. It can be seen that the opponent's nascent soul is almost useless. Also, although the birth pill and the life pill have the same effect, one is used to restore the spiritual root and the other is used to restore the soul. But restoring the spiritual roots is much easier than restoring the nascent soul. You will know this just by looking at Qi Changhe. After all, the nascent soul was injured like this, and the spiritual roots were not much better. Although Yan Xiangluo has not seen the patient, she knows very well that this person not only needs a god-level baby pill, but also a life-giving pill. However, the life-giving pill does not need to be a god-level pill. Therefore, even after taking the birth pill, it will take a long time for this person to recover. Ji Zhokong looked at Yu Xiangluo with burning eyes. Along the way, this girl obviously had little experience in the outside world, but when it came to matters involving high-level families and forces, she was very transparent, almost at the first glance. The reason why she needs it is because she hasn't used her brain to think about these things. If she had, I'm afraid she wouldn't have anything to worry about. Ji Zhozhong could see that Yan Xiangluo relied on his thoughts and decisions without knowing it. It wasn't that she couldn't think of it, but that she was too lazy to think about it. The more he got to know her, the deeper Ji Zhozhong found himself trapped. The girl in front of him was like an endless treasure. Just when you thought you knew her, she would give you new insights and break your previous view of her. And positioning. She is indeed the person who has caught his eye and his heart. She is so special that he likes her so much that he wishes he had a treasure like Pangu space and hid her inside so that no one can see her. It's a pity that Luo is the one who has the ability to hide people now. She hasn't wanted to hide him yet. This shows that although she accepts herself, she doesn't love herself as much as she loves her. Ji Zhokong is happy but also a little heartbroken. Yes, even if this person is not in Daqian Auction House, he is still in Musui City. I just felt Daqian Auction House on the street. The courtyard inside the auction house is blocked by a barrier. It is a very strong barrier. In other places, although the auction house also has protective measures, they are only high-level defensive formations. Ji Zhozhong's decision is never based on guesswork. Yan Xiangluo rolled her eyes and said, "If you are so obviously protected, it is very likely that this person is not in Dakian auction house. Xuanhuan praised, "You're so smart Luo." Yan Xiangluo was speechless. This was worthy of him praising himself. He continued, "It has nothing to do with where people are. What is important is how we can redeem the unearthed 5-element beads in the shortest possible time." End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 355. Chapter 355, Feelings Heat Up. Even if the Earth Element 5 elements beads are in the Dakian auction house in Muzui City, people will not admit that if Xuanhuan goes to exchange them, the other party will definitely use the 5 elements beads in the southern continent of the inner continent to delay the exchange time for 2 days. Even if they are in a hurry. The reason why they chose to exchange the Earth Element 5 element beads in Muzui City was because they could get the Earth Element 5 element beads here as quickly as possible. How to get Dakian auction house to happily take out the 5 elements beads was still a problem. Xuanhuan was not worried at all, "Just say it." Yan Xiangluo was stunned for a moment, and then understood that the anxious people were those who needed the god-level baby pill, and the initiative in the negotiation was naturally in their hands. Xuanhuan understands this, so he doesn't even bother to make plans and explains it directly to you. Yan Xiangluo sighed and said, "After all, the key is that I must be able to refine the god-level divine infant pill." Xuanhuan laughed when he saw her lost look and said, "What's wrong? I refined the Poying Dan again today." He originally said it as a joke, just to make her laugh, but to his surprise, Yan Xiangluo nodded and showed him the Poying Dan she had refined today. Xuanhuan's mouth twitched when he saw the shiny black Poying Dan lying in the white palm of his beloved girl. He still praised soothingly, "It has improved a lot. The quality of this Poying Dan has improved a lot, and it is almost close to perfect quality." Yan Xiangluo nodded, "Well, I'm one step closer to being a god-level alchemist." Although the refining of the infant birth pill failed again today, the infant breaking pill refined today has made a lot of progress. Yan Xiangluo, who could only refine the elixir of perfect quality, could not refine the Poying Dan into perfect quality. This is the only and biggest bottleneck in her alchemy career. Not only is she not discouraged, she has also benefited a lot. Only by going through such a process can one better understand the secrets of alchemy. This is why god-level alchemists are so rare. The requirements for alchemists have reached a level of perfection. This process is very important to Yan Xiangluo, and it can be said to be her biggest test in the process of refining alchemy. In fact, this point is very important to all alchemists, but they have been experiencing such a test, and Yan Xiangluo just encountered it. Yan Xiangluo now has a great understanding of her talent in alchemy. She has been different from other alchemists since she started learning alchemy. She almost never encountered any obstacles that she could not overcome along the way. The reason for this is naturally due to his master Deng Chang's. After all, Deng Chang's talent for alchemy is also extremely strong. With such a master's guidance, Yan Xiangluo almost never made any detours. But she still felt that her talent for alchemy was abnormally strong. Alas, the next time she saw that senior brother, she should ask if she was a genius at alchemy in her previous life. After the business was finished, Yan Xiangluo realized that she had been sitting in Xuanhuan's arms. One of his arms was around her waist. Although it was not tight, she still felt the heat coming from his body, and her cheeks felt uncomfortable. He blushed again with enthusiasm. She immediately said, "I went to make alchemy." As soon as he finished speaking, he went into the space. Xuanhuan was not prepared at all, and his arms were empty. With his arms still hugging her, Xuanhuan sighed secretly. Sometimes it is not pleasant for the girl he likes to have such a space. Well, for the sake of ensuring her safety, I won't worry about this. In any case, the relationship between the two has taken a step closer, and they can hold her and talk, which means that their relationship has warmed up and they are still happy in their hearts. Zhizhong's lips curled up in pleasure as he took out the news he had bought from I don't know, entered his spiritual power into the jade slip, and began to check the list of contestants. Although he didn't know any of these people, he could tell from his last name that he belonged to that family. Especially the families of the 12 lords of the outer continent and the 4 lords of the inner continent, as well as some powerful families. He had bought information before and already knew the outstanding talents in their families. After reading these lists, Zhizhong asked the inn clerk to reward him with 2 red crystal stones, and asked about registration for the competition. He learned that the registration places were located in the cities where the lords of each continent were located. Because of his generosity, the inn clerk told him everything he knew, and also told him in detail how to get to where he signed up. Zhizhong got up and left the inn, going to the registration place for the Twilight City competition. At this time, Xianxia, who had bought back the news, was extremely angry when she saw that the person she wanted was not included in the list above. She also wanted to find Yan Xiongluo's parents and let Lu Yu use them to blackmail Yan Xiongluo to show up. After all, it had been so long. She hasn't caught anyone yet, so she feels unsure. Because she knew Zhizhong's ability and strength very well. Back then, he was able to avoid countless assassinations and murders by Emperor Tianshun when he was still so young. Now it is not difficult to avoid Lu Yu's arrest. She didn't think that Yan Xiongluo had this ability. Now there is no information she wants at all, the money has been spent in vain, and the plan has failed. Suddenly she became happy again. Somewhere, there was no unknown information in the entire higher continent. Since there is no news about Yan Xiongluo's father and mother, I don't know, it means that although they came to the higher continent, they probably didn't come out of the snow source, and they should have died long ago. Therefore, I don't know why there is no news about them. Although her plan failed, it also showed that Xianxia fell in the higher continent without the protection of her parents, and only her master Deng Chang's was left. By the way, why did I forget about Deng Chang's? I should have bought the news about Deng Chang's just now. It seems I have to go there again. Xianxia immediately got up and went to Shishi again, but when she got the information about Deng Chang's, she gritted her teeth with hatred. The only information about Deng Chang's was that he settled in Muzui City, and nothing else. It was as if she had lost track. The spiritual stones were spent in vain again. Her spiritual stones were still the same as before, with 1 flower missing. Although Lu Yu was very generous to women like them, he was not generous enough to give the spiritual stones to anyone. I can't find it, and neither can Yan Xiongluo, so that's fine, I just need to deal with the 2 of them. Xianxia comforted herself angrily. In this case, Lu Yu must be allowed to guard the border checkpoints, and they must not be allowed to leave the Muzui continent, otherwise it will be like a hidden dragon entering the sea for them, and they will no longer be able to control them. When the wind blew by her pillow at night, Lu Yu also felt that the border search should be strengthened. Zhizhong and Yan Xiongluo don't know about this, and they won't care if they know it. They are not at the border now. No matter how strict you are, it has nothing to do with them. Zhizhong came to the place where he registered for the competition. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 356. Chapter 356 Registration Conditions. Zhizhong carefully understood the conditions for registration in the competition. The conditions are very simple. Regardless of status, cultivation level is between zone level and god level, and the age is under 50 years old. You can sign up with your identity card. The competition is divided into preliminaries, preliminary rounds, and finals. It is an elimination system. The top 100 will be determined at the end. Of course, only the top 10 will be rewarded. However, those who can be on the list have already entered the ranks of strong people on the mainland, so what most people strive for is to be on the top 100 list. As for the top 10, it is really not something that ordinary people can imagine. It is said that the top 10 people without exception all ended up in Yun's Hang Palace. The registration time for the competition is 3 months. 2 months have passed and there is still 1 month left. The competition time is 3 months after the registration ends. It can be said that the time from registration to competition is as long as 1 year. That is to say, there are still 4 months from now until the competition starts. It is early summer in July, which means the competition will not start until November, so there is plenty of time. I'm afraid those who want to participate are looking for various ways to improve their cultivation at this time. After all, they may not be able to advance to the first level just by practicing alone. Ji Kong narrowed his eyes and tapped his slender fingers on the table. Anyone who knew him knew that he was thinking about something that required a choice. In the next few days, Yan Xianglou has been refining elixirs in the space, and Ji Hong walks around Muzui City every day. After a few days, there is no place in Muzui City that he is not familiar with. He also ate the recognized delicacies in Muzui City. He thought they were delicious, so he bought some for Xianglou. He knew that she loved to eat delicious food, but most cooks were not as good at cooking as hers, so the food they cooked was not good enough. With impurities, so get used to making it yourself. But if there is a skilled chef and there are almost no impurities in the food, Ji Hong still hopes that she can eat it ready-made. 5 days later, after Yan Xianglou refined more than a dozen baby-breaking pills, she finally refined a god-level baby-producing pill. It's a pity that it is not of perfect quality, but it is enough to replace the 5-element beads of the Earth system. Although it is not of perfect quality, the quality of the elixir refined by Yan Xianglou is also top grade. Therefore, in the eyes of outsiders, the quality of this elixir is good enough. Yan Xianglou didn't want to delay any longer, and she didn't want to exchange the perfect quality god-level baby pill for the Earth-type 5-element beads. The reason is very simple. Although she wants to use her medical skills to become famous and let her parents know that she is here and come to her, she does not want to be in too much limelight at this time. Everything has a degree, and if this degree is not controlled well, it will bring disaster to oneself, especially in this world where the strong are respected. It is likely to lead to death. Want to see where Ji Hong was now? She glanced outside the space, and Yan Xianglou's apricot eyes suddenly widened. Ji Hong was actually buying food. This was the first time she saw Ji Hong standing in a snack shop, choosing snacks seriously. Originally, I wanted to share my joy with him immediately, but I was speechless when I saw him outside. It was already past noon, so we could wait until he returned to the inn to make a deal. It would not take more than half a day. Ji Hong picked a dozen kinds of snacks, all wrapped in oil paper. There were several packages of each kind. Why did he buy so many? Could it be that since I haven't cooked for him in the past few days, he is not used to not eating? When Yan Xianglou was still curious, Ji Hong had already left the dim sum shop. He seemed to have no intention of going back. Yan Xianglou also took advantage of him to take a look at the customs of Muzui City while he was walking outside. Although she could watch Ji Hong anytime she wanted to when he came out these days, she was focused on refining alchemy and had no time to watch. Ji Hong walked around for a long time and came to the tree that was chosen to cover the sky during dinner time. Many of his subordinates were resting here. Although Ji Hong seemed to be resting, his consciousness was actually checking the situation under the tree and the conditions of the roads at the crossroads. He agreed, and after getting the 5-element earth bead, he came to dig up the treasure under the tree. He estimated that it was almost time, and with Luoluo's strength, he should have almost refined the god-level elixir. He came here to stop every day. After a while, estimate the appropriate opportunity to take action. Yan Xiangluo knew that Zhizhikong never did useless work, so there must be a purpose for coming here, and it should be related to digging for treasures. After the sky darkened completely and there were very few pedestrians on the street, Zhizhikong returned to the inn. As soon as he entered the room, Yan Xiangluo came out of the space. Before Zhizhikong sat down, someone suddenly appeared in his arms. Before he could react, the person had left his arms and stood in front of him. Luoluo is getting more and more naughty, Zhizhikong said fondly. Haven't seen her for 5 days. Looking at the person standing in front of him who was still dressed as a teenager, Zhizhikong stared at her smart eyes and sounded a little aggrieved. What's wrong with letting him hold her for a while? This girl is too stingy. Yan Xiangluo rolled her eyes at him and took out the god-level baby pill. I refined it, but it's not of perfect quality. Zhizhikong took the medicine bottle and opened it. He saw that it was a top-grade god-level baby pill. He smiled and said, this is just right. If he really refined one of perfect quality, he would also ask her to refine another one of lower quality. Yan Xiangluo looked at him with burning eyes. When are you going to change the Earth-type 5-element beads? Zhizhikong glanced at the sky outside and said, go now. Huh? Yan Xiangluo looked outside. It's getting dark, it's already Yushi, and there's a curfew at the end of Yushi. Is there still enough time? Although Yan Xiangluo also wanted to leave Muzui City early, she didn't want Zhizhikong to take risks. This is the best time. After we get the 5 elements beads of the earth element, we will go digging for treasures tonight and leave Muzui City tomorrow morning. Qi Changhe has already sent news yesterday that he has picked the Ningzu grass. We will get the Ningzu beads. Let's refine the promotion pill for Bai Diao and go to the inner continent. Zhizhikong has thought about the plan over and over again in the past few days, and has already decided. Seeing what he said, Yan Xiangluo's mood immediately improved. She really didn't like Lu Yu at all. How could God give such a person such a strong talent? Isn't this equivalent to handing a knife to an evil person? Now that the time to leave has been set, how can she be unhappy? They can get identity cards when they arrive in the mainland, but now they are still undercover. Zhizhikong stood up, took off his outer robe, changed into another one, and then changed his face. After putting away the god-level baby pill, he handed it to Yu Xiangluo a gift ring. Here are some that I found delicious after trying them over the past few days, so I bought some for you. See if you like them, eat the ones you like, and give them to Yuntuan if you don't like them. Yan Xiangluo's mouth twitched. He had arranged it well. If Yuntuan knew that he thought so, he would definitely feel aggrieved. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 357. Chapter 357, Big Thousand Exchange, 1. However, he felt warm in his heart. He bought so much food because of her. I've even tasted it, but I didn't expect him to be such a careful person. Yan Xiangluo took the gift ring and gave Zhizhikong a bright smile. I haven't eaten for 5 days, you are so considerate. Zhizhikong saw her happy look and whispered, then can you let me hold her for a little longer in the future? What did you say? Yan Xiangluo didn't hear what he said clearly, so she turned to look at him and asked. Zhizhikong coughed slightly and said, are you going to follow me or wait in the room? Yan Xiangluo retracted her gaze and looked at the various foods in the storage ring. Of course I will go with you. If there is any danger, I can take you in immediately. Zhizhikong immediately picked her up after hearing this, and held her tightly, as if he was afraid that she would enter the space immediately. Seeing his gentle eyes that could make water drop on her face, Yan Xiangluo's face turned red again. I'm going in, otherwise time would be really short. After saying this, he entered the space. The corners of Zhizhikong's mouth curved wider and wider. Luoluo had begun to care about his thoughts. Well, the relationship was one step closer. He put an invisibility pattern on himself, left the inn, and only removed the invisibility pattern when he was near the Dakian auction house. Even a Xuanhuan master is not willing to waste Xuanhuan like him. After all, it is not easy to carve a Xuanhuan, and not everyone can care less about the mental energy consumed. There were not many people on the street. Xuanhuan came to the door of Dakian auction house and stood there. Dakian auction house's door is closed except for auctions, but there is a courtyard nearby to receive customers who have things to auction. However, the door was closed at this time. After all, the curfew was about to begin at the end of Yushi, and almost no one came at this time. Xuanhuan knocked on the door, and soon a voice came from inside. "Who is it? There's a curfew. If you have anything to do, come tomorrow." Xuanhuan knocked on the door again without responding, indicating that he had something to do today. The people inside had no choice but to open the door, mainly because the young master had ordered that all Dakian auction houses, no matter which continent they were in, would receive guests at any time before they got the god-level baby pill. The door opened, and a man who looked to be in his 20s frowned when he saw Xuanhuan. Although he was unhappy in his heart, it was not obvious on his face. "Sir, what's the matter with you?" Xuanhuan didn't say anything, and only mouthed 3 words, birth pill. The man was stunned for a moment, then looked at him and his expression changed. He made a gesture of invitation with a great attitude. "Master, please come in." After Xuanhuan walked in, the man immediately invited people to sit down in the main room. After serving tea, he asked, "Do you have a god-level baby pill in your hand?" The man was very excited. If the god-level baby pill that can be exchanged for Earth-type 5-element beads appeared here in their Musui city, he must have meritorious service in the eyes of the young master. He could be mentioned again, even if he was the general manager possible. Xuanhuan nodded and said, "Let the person who tells the truth come and talk to me." The man was stunned for a moment. "Can I take a look at the elixir first?" Xuanhuan glanced at him sharply. "What do you think?" The man said sarcastically, "Master, wait a minute." He knew very well how someone could show such an important elixir to him at will, and he immediately trotted towards the side door. As he was about to go out, Xuanhuan said again, "Let Dakian's master or young master come and talk to me." The man's feet suddenly froze when he stepped out. "My master is in the interior and rarely goes out. The young master also has to visit various places, so he may not come to Musui City at any time." Although he said this, he was shocked in his heart. The young master is indeed here, and he has been there since the auction ended, but he did not tell the outside world. Except for a few of them, not even the other people in Dakian knew that the young master was there. How did this person know that the young master was there? Is he deceiving himself? Xuanhuan raised the corners of his lips in an evil manner and said with certainty, "Young master Dakian is here." The man's heart sank. How could he be so sure? But his reaction was still very quick. "I don't even know that our young master is here. How did the young master know about it?" "This information is really well informed. I will ask the chief steward for instructions." "Young master, wait a moment." Now he doesn't dare to say more, for fear that his words will reveal some information. Seeing him leave, Xuanhuan picked up the teacup and drank tea leisurely. Xianxia was in the space picking up the various foods Xuanhuan bought for her and looking at them while eating. Seeing that man walking away, he curled his lips and said, "You are too young to fight with Xuanhuan. He was the one who defeated the entire Tianshan Empire's royal family and hundreds of officials." The man quickly ran to the backyard and broke into the steward's room. The steward was about to fall asleep and was startled by him. "What are you doing? Why are you so unruly?" The man's heart was beating like thunder as he said, "There is a young man who says he has a god-level baby pill. He is sitting in front of him." The steward almost fell off the bed when he heard this. "Are you sure?" The man said, "I didn't see it either, and they didn't show it to me, but this man is very calm, as if everything is under his control. Let's go to the front. The steward quickly got out of bed and put on the clothes he had just taken off. He was so anxious and excited that he couldn't fasten his clothes. The man tied it on for him. Steward, the young master said that he only saw the master and the young master, and he was quite sure that the young master was here. The man quickly grabbed the steward, who was about to run out after getting dressed. When the steward heard this, he stopped and said, "Did you let the truth slip?" The man shook his head like a rattle. "No, I told you that the young master will visit various places. It is not certain when he will come to Musui City, but the young master definitely said that young master Dakian is here." The steward heard that this person was a bit unusual. "I'll go and talk to the young master." The steward knew that he couldn't make the decision. Although he is still not sure whether the visitor really has a god-level baby pill, he does not dare to neglect him at this time. What if he really does have it? If he delays the young master's affairs, let alone his position, his life, maybe there is no way to save it. The steward came to the courtyard where young master Dakian lived. Young master Dakian has not rested and has been practicing. He will also participate in the continental competition. The steward interrupted his practice, and he didn't know that the steward must have something important to do, otherwise he wouldn't have dared to interrupt his practice even if he had the guts to do so. The most important thing for Dakian auction house now is the god-level baby pill. Could it be that there is news from the southern continent? Young master Dakian came out of the room, and the steward immediately said, "Young master, there is a young master who said that he has a god-level baby pill and is waiting in the front room." He only saw the master and the young master, and he was very sure that the young master was here. What will young master do if he sees this? End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 358. Young Master Dakian was stunned. He came to the door so accurately and knew that he was in Musui City. How could it be possible? The news about the Earth-type 5-element beads has been announced in front of everyone. Dakian has made it clear that the Earth-type 5-element beads will be placed in the Dakian family in the southern continent. Why would anyone come to Musui City to exchange for the Earth-type 5-element beads? With his great strength, is it impossible to conceal the whereabouts of the Earth-type 5-element beads? How did his whereabouts get leaked? Is there a spy inside Dakian? How could the Dakian family have existed for so many years without any means? The people who can be trusted are all those who have made a soul oath. The more young Master Dakian thinks about it, the more something is wrong. In any case, it is certain that this person is not simple. What kind of person is he? Young Master Dakian asked. The steward immediately called the man who received Jizhong, and the man told young Master Dakian in detail Jizhong's appearance and dress, as well as what they said between them. Young Master Dakian was silent for a moment after hearing this, but decided to go and have a look. What he wanted was a god-level birth pill. As for the identity of the person who came, it didn't matter how he knew he was here. As long as he really had a god-level birth pill, Yingdan can solve Dakian's crisis. Young Master Dakian came to the front yard and looked towards the main room as he walked. Looking inside from the door of the main room, he could just see Jizhong sitting on a chair and drinking tea calmly. Young Master Dakian narrowed his eyes. Although the aura of Xuanhuan was not heavy, just a trace, he still felt the aura of Xuanhuan. After all, he was also a saint-level practitioner. However, with his saint-level cultivation, he could only detect a trace of the mysterious pattern of aura, and his level was not that high. This is because the mysterious pattern is continuous. He cannot sense the mysterious pattern that the opponent uses, which disappears immediately if it takes effect. This shows how high the level of the mysterious pattern used by the opponent is. Could the other party be a Xuanhuan master? It was unlikely. Although the other party used Xuanhuan, he could still tell that he was young. He was only in his early 20s at most. But he has already reached the 5th level of cultivation at the sect level, and his cultivation talent is not low. A person's experience is limited. He has such cultivation at this age. It can be seen that ordinary energy is spent on cultivation, and even the level of Xuanhuan master cannot be very high. A flash of light flashed across young Master Dakian's eyes. This person had hidden his identity. His face was fake, but he was very cautious. Although Zhizhong's cultivation level is not as good as that of young Master Dakian, he has strong mental strength. He sensed someone coming, turned around and saw a man wearing a gorgeous brocade robe walking towards him with his hands behind his back. It was the auction that day in Sifang City. Young Master Dakian whom I met at the meeting. Zhizhong stood up when Dakian's master arrived. He still had to abide by the simplest guest etiquette. Young Master Dakian stepped over the threshold and walked in. Their eyes met, and they were in a stalemate, refusing to admit defeat. After a moment, young Master Dakian smiled and said, "Young Master, you are so courageous. Please sit down." After saying this, he walked to the master's seat and sat down. He was the master, and he knew very well about the principle of when enough is enough. Young Master Dakian is indeed well deserved. Zhizhong also praised him in a lively manner, and then sat down again. Young Master Dakian said straight to the point, "Since the young master is here in disguise, I guess he doesn't want to reveal his identity. I won't ask the young master for his surname. I need to confirm the elixir first. What method do you think can make you feel at ease? Before you take out the earth type 5 element beads, you need to check the other person's god level elixir, and you must make sure that the other person has a safe way to approve it." Zhizhong was not surprised that young Master Dakian saw that he had used the Xuanhuan pattern, but he actually admired his frank style of getting straight to the point. Without any delay, he directly took out the medicine bottle containing the god-level baby pill, opened it, poured out the pill inside, and held it in the palm of his hand. "Young Master Dakian, you can confirm it with your own eyes." Young Master Dakian didn't expect Zhizhong to take out the elixir so happily. Aren't he worried about being robbed? This is Dakian's territory, and there are many strong people hiding in the dark. However, although he had many ideas, when he saw the elixir, young Master Dakian suddenly ran out of ideas. Because what Zhizhong was holding in his palm was indeed the birth elixir that they had worked so hard to obtain, and the lines were indeed unique to god-level elixirs, and they were of the highest quality. This was simply the best result they expected. Zhizhong looked at young Master Dakian motionlessly, not missing the subtle changes in expression on his face, and was shocked and surprised. He calmly held the birth elixir. Young Master Dakian did not confirm that it was true, so he did not pick up the elixir. After a moment, young Master Dakian came back to his senses and said, "It is indeed a god-level baby pill, and it is of the highest quality. Master, are you sure you want to change it to the earth type 5 element beads? If you want something else that Dakian has, you can consider it. The main reason is that the spiritual root of his father, Dakian, the current head of the family, is of the earth element. This earth element 5 element bead has been used by his father for cultivation, and he would be reluctant to exchange it for it. This is because I had no choice but to exchange it for a god-level baby pill. If there is any other way, I will never use the earth type 5 element beads." Because they know that two of the current god-level alchemists in the mainland have both earth and fire spiritual roots. Because they are alchemists with high fire spiritual roots, but the earth spiritual roots are much lower, this is why they came up with the earth spiritual roots after discussion. The main reason why the 5 elements beads are more attractive to god-level alchemists is that they are more likely to be successfully redeemed. I don't know if this young master is a member of two god-level alchemists. If it weren't for this young master having other desires, he would be happy to see it come to fruition. Zhizhong shook his head and put away the elixir. "I only want the 5 element beads of the earth element." Young Master Dakian is a little disappointed, but he also knows that since he is here, he must be here for the earth type 5 element beads, and it is impossible to give up the Earth-type 5-element beads. He said this just to give it a try. He won't force people if they don't agree, let alone mention it again, as if Dakian auction house is reluctant to part with the Earth-based 5 elements beads and wants to regret it. No matter how precious the 5 elements beads are, it's not as important as the reputation of Dakian auction house. The 5 elements pearl is in the southern continent and will be delivered the day after tomorrow at the earliest. How about you stay in Dakian for the past 2 days? Young Master Dakian thought about it and said. Then he added, Young Master, don't worry. I, Dakian, will never do anything treacherous. We, Dakian, will be responsible for your safety in the past 2 days. If you don't believe me, I, the young master, can make an oath. Xuanhuan glanced at young Master Dakian, and said in a leisurely tone, Young Master Dakian is too cautious. Since I came here instead of going to the southern continent, it is because I am sure that the 5 elements pearl of the earth element is here. Get it now. Young Master Dakian shrank his eyes after hearing Xuanhuan's words, and his eyes fell sharply on Xuanhuan. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 359. Chapter 359, Big Thousand Exchange, 3. The other party knew that he was here before. He could also explain that he was well informed and had means, and his whereabouts might have been leaked without him knowing. However, now that people clearly knew that the Earth Element 5 Elements Pearl was in Muzui City, he had to think more. The pressure of the saint-level cultivation is radiated unconsciously. Xuanhuan seemed to have not sensed the other party's pressure. He sat there with the same expression as before. Only he knew that there was a difference of 2 major levels of pressure, and his internal organs were churning. When he gets the Earth-type 5-element beads later, he will have to deal with Luoluo. In addition to taking the elixir, he also has to hold her for a while. Although the pressure cannot fall on Yanxiang Luo in the space, she can feel the increasing pressure outside the space. She was worried about Xuanhuan, but the space was on Xuanhuan. She could see any environment and people around her, except Xuanhuan. I was so worried that I didn't even eat the snacks in my hands. Young Master Dakian would never have imagined that under his pressure, people would only think about how to seek benefits from the girl they loved, and they would not take him seriously at all. Time seemed to have frozen. Young Master Dakian did not speak, and Xuanhuan did not speak either. However, his momentum did not diminish at all, making it difficult for young Master Dakian to discern his depth. A while passed, and young Master Dakian finally spoke, Young Master, it's difficult for me. Xuanhuan saw this and put away the elixir, I don't have the habit of being difficult for others. In this case, today is considered a bother. After saying that, he stood up and walked out. Young Master Dakian was stunned. Even the steward standing by was confused. What did this mean? Why did he leave? Young Master Dakian shrank his eyes, pursed his lips, and said nothing. He wanted to see if the other party really wanted to leave. Xuanhuan's pace did not slow down at all, he crossed the threshold and continued walking towards the door. Upon seeing this, young Master Dakian knew that he could no longer let the situation develop. He quickly stood up and said, Master, please stay. Xuanhuan stopped and turned around to look at young Master Dakian, it's not like I have to use the Earth-type 5-element beads. The implication is that you have to use Zhou against me. This trick is not easy to use. For me, the 5-element beads of Earth-type are the icing on the cake. If they are not, there is something to replace them. It is not necessary. Although the fact is that he is determined to obtain the Earth-type 5-element beads, he cannot let the other party know that he urgently wants them. Young Master Dakian knew that he was completely defeated in this contest, not because he was not strong enough, but because the other party had determined that they had to have a god-level birth pill, while others had to have Earth-type 5-element pearls. The Earth element 5 elements pearl is indeed on my young master. Since the young master is so anxious, can you please keep it a secret and don't tell me that the Earth element 5 element pearl was exchanged in Muzui City. This sentence was actually meant for him. Jizhong, a talented person, naturally understood and said, I didn't come with my real identity, and naturally I didn't want people to know. You and I each get what we need. The shorter the exchange time, the better, the more beneficial it is to each other. As for how the exchanged news is released, it is a matter for Dakian and has nothing to do with me. You don't know who I am anyway, and you don't know who took the Earth 5 elements beads. The only news that is released is that the Earth 5 elements beads have been exchanged. Since Dakian put so much thought into it, they must have stated that the exchange address was the southern continent. Young Master Dakian sighed silently in his heart. Whose boy is this? He has such courage at a young age, and his whole body exudes a kind of nobility that comes from his bones. It is not like what ordinary people can cultivate. Fortunately for such a talent, he is only at the 5th level of zone-level cultivation. Otherwise, there would probably be no trouble for anyone else in this continental competition. But how come he didn't know that there was such a number one person in that company on the mainland? If it is really the junior who is protected by that family, the protection must be too good, and not a single bit of information is revealed. Young Master, please come in. No matter how complicated his mood was, young Master Qian remained calm on his face and made a gesture of invitation naturally. They returned to the main room and sat down again. Young Master Dakian was much more polite. Yan Xiangluo in the space could see the whole process clearly, including the constant changes in the expression of young Master Dakian. After hearing Jizhong's voice, she felt relieved knowing that nothing was wrong with him, and continued eating her snack. I felt deeply for young Master Dakian's ability to bend and stretch. The heirs trained by this big family are different. Each of them has as many eyes as a sieve. It may seem like a few simple words, but they have gone through countless tricks in their hearts, and they are still the same. Jizhong was powerful and won easily. Yan Xiangluo felt extremely proud, such an outstanding man was hers. I'm still very excited. After all, I'm about to get the 5-element earth beads. I don't know what changes will happen to the space. Young Master Dakian this time asked people to drink a very rare spiritual tea in their mainland. Only Yun's Hang Palace has it, so he didn't dare to have it at all. The god-level divine infant pill is in someone else's hands. If he tries to be pretentious and makes trouble, he will really leave immediately given his temperament. Jizhong glanced at the tea. It was indeed good. It was stronger than his spiritual tea. It seems that the spiritual energy of the higher continents is rich, and the spiritual energy of the crops produced is also much richer, and the quality is much better than that of the lower continents. His spiritual tea is grown deep in Wanghai forest, as well as spiritual rice and spiritual vegetables. Although he has a lot of inventory, he has left the Tianqian continent after all. When he settles down, he still needs to find a place with abundant spiritual energy to specialize. Grow these crops as needed. Although Yan Xiangluo's space is better, he doesn't want to rely on it. It is more secure to rely on his own strength. After a cup of tea, young Master Dakian said, "Young Master is so cheerful, and I am not a moji person. How about we exchange it now? The end of Yushi is coming soon. This person doesn't want to live in Dakian, and he doesn't want to cause trouble. And since he can get the god-level baby pill tonight, taking it one day earlier will have better effects than taking it one day later." Jizhong didn't hesitate, took out the medicine bottle, poured out the elixir, and put it in the palm of his hand. Meaning, take a look, this is the god-level baby birth elixir. If you give me the earth element 5-element bead, this elixir will be yours. Young Master Dakian was a little helpless. This person really had no rules and regulations, which made him a little overwhelmed. In this case, he didn't worry about it. He just took out a brocade box, put it on the table, opened the lid and showed it to Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan glanced at the Earth-type 5-element bead. He saw it at a distance at the auction house before, but he also felt it was familiar. It was similar to the bead he got in the Lingquan secret realm, but the color was different. The power is just different. Now that I see the Earth-type 5 elements beads at close range, this feeling becomes clearer. Is the one I got also the 5 elements beads? End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 360. Chapter 360. The 5 elements come together. Xuanhuan gathered his thoughts and let go of his spiritual perception. The rich earth power emanated from the bead. It was determined to be the earth 5-element bead. Xuanhuan pushed the elixir over generously. Young Master Daqian saw that he had pushed the pill over first, and he admired his determination and broad-mindedness. Although he acted a bit domineering, this man was very generous and made people feel comfortable. Young Master Daqian immediately pushed the brocade box over, and they both reached out to take back their respective elixirs and 5-element beads. Xuanhuan picked up the 5-element bead, and the earth element power suddenly penetrated into his body crazily. It was indeed an excellent treasure for cultivating earth element spiritual roots. Thinking that his own bead also had powerful gold element power, it is definitely a gold-based 5-element bead. Xuanhuan put the 5-element beads into the brocade box, closed the lid and put it away, then stood up and said, "The exchange was successful, I'm leaving." Young Master Daqian also put away the elixir, got up and sent him out without keeping him. No matter how attentive he is to people he doesn't want to make friends with, they won't pay attention to you. It's better to send him away generously. Anyway, he has got what he wants. In fact, he still admires Xuanhuan's style of doing things. He does what he needs, is decisive and neat, and it is pleasant and comfortable to work with this kind of person. It was just the first time that he met someone who did not want to make friends with his young Master Daqian, so he was still very curious about Xuanhuan's identity. But he also knew that he couldn't do anything with such a person. The world was so big and capable people emerged in large numbers, and he never underestimated anyone. The large Qian family standing behind him would harm the family if they were not careful. He did not dare to take risks. This was also a weakness shared by the heirs of large families. No one dared to risk the family. "Young Master Daqian, please stay." When he arrived at the door, Xuanhuan said politely, then stepped out and left. The steward looked at Xuanhuan's back and made a gesture, silently asking young Master Daqian whether he wanted to send someone to follow him to have a look, or whether he needed to the earth element 5 elements pearl back. Young Master Daqian looked at Xuanhuan's back and said, "Don't do anything, just pretend that no one came tonight and nothing happened." Although the steward didn't know the young master's plan, since the young master said this, he knew that the young master did not want to mess with this person. After the door closed, young Master Daqian changed his clothes and left Daqian auction house in a very low-key manner. He used the invisibility pattern and headed to a remote street in Musui City. The person who needs the god-level baby pill is in Musui City, and has reached the point where he can't leave, otherwise he wouldn't stay here. This man is a very important figure in Daqian, and is the confidence and security of Daqian today. Otherwise, how could my father be willing to exchange the 5-element beads of the earth element for a god-level baby pill? In fact, in comparison, although the divine infant birth pill is precious, it cannot be compared with the unique earth element 5-element beads. However, they need it urgently, and they can only use such a big temptation to get the divine infant pill as quickly as possible. After Xuanhuan left Daqian, he found a relatively hidden alley very close to the tree at the intersection and asked Yan Xianglou to take him into the space. As soon as he entered, he saw Yan Xiangluo sitting cross-legged on the edge of the Lingquan pond, happily eating with a bag of snacks in her arms. Beside her, there was a cloud squatting next to her, holding snacks in her little paws and eating them with gusto. The vision looked quite harmonious and warm. Tonight, Yun Tuan will work hard to dig for treasures, but Yu Xiangluo will not let him practice, but let him eat delicious food together. Ji Zhong walked up to her and handed the brocade box to her. I got it. Yan Xiangluo put down the snacks, took the brocade box, opened it, took out the 5-element earth bead, and dropped a drop of blood on it. The 5-element bead of earth emits a light and disappeared. Ji Zhong raised his phoenix eyes and asked, "Where are the beads?" Yan Xiangluo couldn't unzip her clothes and let him see. The earth-type 5-element beads had already been inlaid on the pangu flower, but she still had to explain them to Ji Zhong. My space is attached to a jade pendant carved into a flower shape. I call it pangu flower. After the space is opened, the pangu flower disappears into my body. The pangu flower has 5 petals. After I contracted the 5 elements beads of the earth system, it was automatically embedded in one of the petals, and now only one petal is empty. Yan Xiangluo was still wondering, why was there no movement at all in the space after the earth-type 5-element beads returned to their positions? Ji Zhong was stunned. There was such a miraculous thing, pangu flower actually submerged into her body. Is there still one petal left? Ji Zhong asked, thinking of her words. Yan Xiangluo nodded. The only thing left is the 5-element gold beads. I have gathered all the 5-element beads. I don't know where the 5-element gold beads are. They must not be in other low-level continents. Ji Zhong's mouth twitched. This girl was unlucky. She actually got 3 5-element beads in a low-level continent like Tianqian. No, she still got one, which is equivalent to her getting it. In other words, there are actually 4 5-elements pearls in the Tianqian continent, and only the earth 5-elements pearls are in the higher continent. Made him suspect that the 5-elements pearl seemed to be sent to Yu Xiangluo intentionally by heaven. With the thought, he had an extra bead in his hand. Do you think this is a gold 5-element bead? Yan Xiangluo looked at the golden beads in Ji Zhong's palm, and her almond-shaped eyes suddenly brightened. Oh my god, where did you get it? Yan Xiangluo said in surprise. This was too unexpected. One moment she was worried that the gold 5-element beads would be lost in other lower continents, but the next moment they appeared in front of her eyes. Young Master Dakian couldn't possibly give him 2 5-element beads, so it would be the ones he got before. Ji Zhong said, I got this in the secret realm of Lingquan. I didn't know it was a 5-element bead at the time, but after seeing the earth element 5-element bead at the auction that day, I suspected that it was a gold element 5-element bead. I got it today. I compared the earth type 5-element beads and they feel very similar. Ji Zhong didn't say yes for sure, although he felt it was in his heart. Yan Xiangluo picked up the gold 5-element beads and couldn't believe that she had collected them in such an unexpected way. Give it to me, Yan Xiangluo asked, holding up the beads. Since he took them out, he naturally wanted to give them to her. Ji Zhong smiled and said, of course, I've wanted to give it to you for a long time. I thought I'd give it to you after I confirmed it, so as to save you a wasted joy. Yan Xiangluo didn't expect Ji Zhong to be so willing to give up. The 5-elements pearl was something that everyone was fighting for, but he actually gave it to her like this. Furthermore, the combat effectiveness of gold-type spiritual roots is the strongest among the 5 types. If the big auction house takes out gold-type 5-element beads, it will definitely not be so peaceful. The Dakian family in the southern continent may have been robbed countless times. However, Yan Xiangluo really couldn't refuse this gift. Then I'm not polite. I really want to know what changes will happen to the space after collecting the 5 elements beads. End of this chapter.